Hi, I'm Brooke Morrow, BMI's AVP of Creative, and I'm excited to introduce you to BMI's She is the Conversation. Each episode will feature a discussion between two professional women in the music industry. They may be artists, producers, songwriters, engineers, or executives, all sharing stories and creative advice, as well as important insights about how to advance in this business as a woman. This project stems from our association with She is the Music, a global nonprofit network that fights for equality, inclusivity, opportunity, and meaningful change for women in music. BMI supports the efforts of She is the Music to serve women currently working in the industry while fostering the development of future generations. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Cara Dioguardi and Ingrid Andress. Cara is a Grammy-nominated songwriter, record producer, performer, music publisher, A&R executive, Broadway star, author, mentor, and former judge on American Idol. She has written countless songs, and sales of albums on which her songs appear exceed 160 million worldwide. She's won 21 BMI Song Awards, including the 2007 BMI Pop Songwriter of the Year Award. Currently a Herb Alpert Visiting Scholar at the Berklee College of Music, Cara is a tireless advocate for young songwriters and a committed philanthropist and educator. Ingrid Andress is a versatile young singer-songwriter and Berklee College of Music graduate from Colorado. She's written songs for a wide range of artists, including Bebe Rexha, Charli XCX, Fletcher, Dove Cameron, Sam Hunt, Alicia Keys, and Tori Kelly. She has toured with Keith Urban, and her debut album, Ladylike, has earned critical acclaim, making her one of the best new artists to watch. In 2020, she was nominated for multiple CMA awards and is currently nominated for 3 Grammy Awards for Best New Artist, Best Country Album, Ladylike, and Best Country Song, More Hearts Than Mine.
Hi, I'm Cara Dioguardi, and this is BMI's She is the Conversation. And today I'm going to be speaking with one of my favorite artists and people, Ingrid Andress. Hi, Ingrid.
Hello, Cara.
Ingrid, who's going to take the question about our relationship? What is our relationship?
We're roommates.
No. Let's go all the way back.
Okay.
First, you were my first class. You were from the first class at Berklee that I taught, which is just astounding. I remember being completely scared standing in front of all you guys, and it turned out to be one of the best things I've ever done. You know, I was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, but apparently I'm teaching you. And then we met at that bar at Lowe's, right? And the Lowe's Vanderbilt, we started, you played some songs, and I was like.
You were like, no, these are terrible.
I was like, this is all wrong, because you had this amazing lyrical sense and perspective that a lot of young artists and songwriters don't have, and you kind of abandoned it. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, is this girl, am I going to get pulled back into publishing now? Because I was kind of like not doing it so much.
Right.
And then you sort of were down there trying to do the whole writing thing, and explain a little bit about what that was like for you.
I remember that song I wrote in your class, you kept referring to it every week of like, oh, this concept is so good, but you never remembered my name. Like every week you remembered my title and not my name. I'm like,
don't feel bad. Sometimes I call my husband Mark. Okay.
Right.
Name's Mike. Like, I definitely have an issue with names. Especially Ingrid Andress. Like,
right. It's not easy. So yeah, I moved down to Nashville because you kind of encouraged me. You're like, you have something, but like songwriting, it takes work, and it's like that muscle, and you kind of like, you have something there, but you just need to put some time in and like almost like prove to yourself that you really want to do this. So I moved to Nashville since that's songwriting capital. I don't think I was ready to be out in LA yet. Yeah, you just kind of mentored as far as like, I would send you songs and you'd be really brutally honest, which I think is really important when you're starting out, because I think a lot of people end up thinking they're better than they are because they don't have a mentor or somebody with constructive criticism.
You have this perfect combination of somebody who really wants to be the best version of themselves, just personally and as an artist and as a writer. And when somebody like you gets constructive criticism, they don't look at it and, their ego doesn't get hurt. They just figure, okay, how am I going to make my songs better? And it didn't take you a long time once you started going back to the core of what made me realize you were so talented in the beginning, which was really being you and coming with your own perspective and not letting what everyone else was doing in the market freak you out. Because there was a time there where I feel like that was hard for you, and maybe you want to explain that, just being a woman in Nashville and kind of being forward in your thinking and how you wanted to be perceived and who you were as an artist. Talk about some of those challenges.
Yeah, I feel like when I first got to Nashville and really got into the writing scene, I found that a lot of times, like, I wanted to talk about feelings and like all this stuff from a woman's perspective. And then when you're in a room full of men spitting into solo cups and they're just like,
how attractive.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, ooh, they're like, yeah, nobody's going to want to cut that. And so that was so frustrating to me to be like, well, I feel like these songs are really good. They're just not cuttable by most artists because a lot of the, country scene at the time was literally all male. It's gotten so much better now. But like, if you weren't writing about trucks and beer, you weren't getting cuts. And so I felt it was really isolating because you're like, well, what am I even writing for if this isn't a thing here? So I feel like that's why I started going out to LA more in order to like learn to where you could talk about anything and people were just like, yeah, we're down. It was definitely tough. Like at one point I was just like, I think I'm going to leave Nashville. I feel so misunderstood. And then right when I was like, okay, I'm leaving is when
it all happened.
Which is usually how it goes.
I think that's about the time that we started living together, when it was like, oh no, you're not going anywhere. You're staying in Nashville. But I think there's a great lesson in there because you struggled so much with, the fact that what you were saying wasn't exactly country. And I think that in the beginning, I'm not sure you were completely 100% about being an artist. And when you realized that no one was going to say these things but you, it was like, oh, well, I want them to be heard. I think that this is important. And if I have to do it, then that's what's going to have to happen. Because not cuttable meant that you were onto something groundbreaking. And I think that's something to say to every creative out there is that when something doesn't fit in a box, that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It can make it genius. Because now here you are breaking all of these, you're breaking ground and you're, getting all these awards, Music Row, Best Song, but, Breakthrough Artist, and, your streaming has just been off the charts. No one's ever done it. Talk a little bit about what that feels like to know that you broke records.
Yeah, it was very surprising to me because I feel like this whole time, like you said, I was just like, I just think this is good. Even if I'm the only one who thinks so, like, that's okay. Like, I just really believe in this. And honestly, a lot of it too was finding the right people to collaborate with. Writing just to write is great, but like really finding your people is so important because, you could bring a really awesome, vulnerable idea to the room, but if you don't feel comfortable or they don't have the ears to like hear it or to want to go and expound upon it, then, you don't really have that thing, that magic in the room. And actually, I have a question for you. So how do you choose, like, what do you have to say about the importance of like choosing who you creatively collaborate with and like what things do you look for when, you collaborate with people?
Well, back when I was, writing all the time, I sort of had a type and it was somebody who challenged me in the room, either because there was almost something irritating about them or fiery. I did best with people who had kind of almost a contentious relationship with, because they pushed me. They pushed me lyrically. They pushed me just kind of as a person. And I like that feeling of being on the edge when I create. I feel like it has to be necessary, whatever I'm saying. It has to be something that is on my, I just feel so deeply. So in those kind of situations, I felt like I was more comfortable for whatever reason. You know, maybe it was because of the chaos of growing up, the chaos in my relationships. You know, I liked that. That is what I fed off of. And I liked working with collaborators that would help me tap into that. That really was kind of my go-to thing. As I got older, it shifted and it changed. But for me, music is really about expressing what I'm feeling, because I'm not trained. I'm not a great player. So for me, it's all really about how do I put these emotions into a song in a way that people will relate to it on the other side.
Right. Yeah. And you wear like so many different, I mean, you do many things, like to the point where I'm like, wonder what she's up to today. Is she like developing artists or pitching songs or writing a song?
For me, having a bunch of different things to do is creatively inspiring, and I need to always be creatively inspired.
Right.
And that's what I loved about meeting you, is that you were just very inspiring. To root for somebody like you was a joy. It was like, I wanted you to be bigger than I could ever be, plus, because you had that talent, and not a lot of people have your level of talent. And I think for writers that are out there today, or artists, you want to make sure that whoever you are aligned with would die for you, that they will fight every battle for you and make sure that you get into the hands of the right people, the right collaborators. If they can't, for Ingrid and I, it was the partnership with Universal and Missy Roberts, who just got Ingrid, and the three of us kind of working on it together. And it's not an ego thing. It's like, I didn't care. I just wanted you to win, because you deserve to win, and you can change lives by what you have to say. And that, to me, is what it's always about with a great artist. It's spiritual. It's not just a financial thing. It shouldn't even be a financial thing. It should be, this person needs to be heard. And, I'm going to kill anyone who gets in the way.
This is true. There were many meetings in Nashville when you come into town, and we go in, and it would look like these men were just standing in front of a jet plane, because they were just like.
Do you remember that one? We won't name names, but the showcase. Ingrid, you did this showcase where I was literally crying. I was bawling. And I looked at the person who was running the company. I was like, if you don't lock that door and sign this girl right now, I promise you will regret it, or something like that. And he was like, now, when are you leaving?
Yeah, he was like, when are you leaving town?
We're going to go back. You remember that? But I knew it. I could feel it in my bones. I was like, this girl she's going to break the rules. She's going to break the boundaries. And you did. And you can't imagine the joy and the pride, and just like, I'm so happy. The happy, like, couldn't be happier. When people are like, do you know Ingrid Andress? She's so good. I'm like, do I know Ingrid Andress? Let me tell you, I know her very well. She helped move my couch to the house.
Right.
Actually, she moved it.
I was going to say, I moved your stuff into your house. It was a great workout.
So wait, let me ask you a question. So what works for you for collaborating? Like, what's a perfect collaborator like for you?
I look for somebody who can keep the musicality going while I focus on the lyrics with somebody else, because I need to hear it as it's going. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's hard for me to stay like motivated to finish the song. Like, if I can't hear where the production is going, or at least like chords, mm-hmm. I am just like, well, this is boring. But so to me, somebody who can start independently on a musical idea. I bring the title, and then I want somebody who only can focus on the lyrics with me. I mean, I could write my own, but I also think that sometimes I get so caught in my head of like, oh, the things I'm feeling, everybody must be feeling. And so it's nice to have somebody else in the room being like, I don't think people always feel that way. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So one of my good friends and collaborators, Derek Sutherland, is very good at reeling me in when I'm like, yeah, all girls like really don't like men that much. And he was like, okay, that's dial it back.
I've been in sessions with you too, and it's amazing to watch. You're like playing a great game of tennis, and you get really psyched when you nail a line. Which brings us to More Hearts Than Mine. I feel like everyone who's watching this is going to want to know how that came about. And I do think you're going to, the moment I heard that song, I was like, Grammys, awards. I mean, it's just perfect song. So can you kind of explain to us how that came to be?
Yeah. So it started as an idea I had, or like a title. It just popped into my head because I wasn't sure if I wanted to introduce the guy I was seeing to my family for the holidays. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And for some reason, I just, the way my brain works, it was just like More Hearts Than Mine. Like, for some reason, it just put that together from that situation. Because I was thinking about that process of him meeting them, and then him or them like asking me about him all the time because they get really attached. And so I was just like, so I ended up not introducing him to my family and writing this song instead. So I brought the title in to Derek and Sam, and I was like, here is this idea I have. But we had just written my song Ladylike, which is this very empowering all-female. So I was like not wanting to be vulnerable. So I was like second guessing the original idea. I was like, it could be this way, or I could be the one breaking the hearts because I am a heartbreaker, and
which is much easier to sing about.
Exactly, which is so much better, and I love it. And then that's why collaborators are so important, because they both looked at me and they're like, you're stupid. No. The first way you had it is the way we need to write it. And so it wasn't a quick session. It was a lot of thinking and trying to be honest, like not too heady, but also conversational. So it was just this ebb and flow of like everybody's stories, and kind of, it was like a combination of what all of our families do when they meet other people.
It really is. That's why it's so genre bending. And I think it's because of your perspective. It's that first line, just, I can't wait to show you where I grew up. I mean, there isn't a human being on the planet that doesn't feel that way when it's time to introduce their family to someone, and I think that's why it's hard. You are a country artist, but you're someone who's genre bending. And I mean, you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, where do you see the trajectory of your career? Like, how do you see it going? Like, in your perfect world, what is Ingrid Andress going to be doing in 5 years?
She's probably going to be the voiceover of an animated character.
I love that.
Entirely out of music. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think I would love it if I wasn't having to be confined to genre things, because I feel like a lot of artists now are realizing that genres are kind of been there, done that. Like, music is growing and expanding in so many cool ways. Like, I hope that I can be known as just a good writer and a good artist, a good singer-songwriter. I just don't want there to be any labels on things. And, I hope in 5 years that country will be a little more accepting of all different types of women and, sexual preferences and races. Like, we're so behind in that. And so I'm really hoping that in 5 years, like, there will be a lot more room for collaboration with all different types of people, because to me, that's what inspires me. I love new things. I love chasing new sounds, and writing things that I would listen to.
Right.
So hopefully that happens, but we'll see.
How do you feel like the market is now? Is it changing? Is it becoming more about women? Are women supporting each other? You want to talk a little bit about, what the effect of kind of Me Too has had on country?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a tense topic because the country music industry has been run by white men for forever. And even though all the powerhouse females like Dolly Parton and Loretta Lynn used to sing about very controversial things, and like the Dixie Chicks, it's like those women were the voice of women for like many years. Those were their only voices. There's a deeper issue, which is like how women are viewed in the South. It's a cultural thing. And so I think it is getting better. I think Casey Musgraves really helped pave the way of really not playing the game and just doing her thing. I think that's really important. I know Marin is starting to do well. So like there are slowly starting to be artists. We still have a long way to go. And as far as like women supporting each other, I think there's a lot of untraining we need to do with how women view each other. I think there's still a lot there, even though people are like, you know, I've had support in my life from women, Little Big Town, a lot of female writers in town, but there's still this tension that nobody's really addressing that I find fascinating.
I think, you know, in terms of radio, I would hope that anyone who's watching this that lives, you know, in the country markets, call your radio station, you know, say, I want to hear more women on the radio. Let's remember radio is about ads, and, you know, that's where the money is generated. So if these radios start to hear that their listeners aren't happy, that they're not getting more women on the radio, maybe they'll do something about it. You know, it's, you guys, we have to speak up about that. And in terms of women kind of, you know, backing each other, I think the thing that a lot of maybe young women don't realize, and as you get older, you start to realize it, is that we are all so different. You know, we don't need to compete. We are all unique. And, you know, I never really got the whole jealousy thing with women, because I was like, I'm such a nut that if somebody likes me, they're definitely not going to like just, you know, the one over there, because I mean, if you're liking me, you're looking for something completely different, right? So I just never felt that jealousy, because to me, it just figured in my head that we're all so different.
Yep.
And, you know, we're all so unique. So we need to support each other because of that. And not try to tear each other down. And women, we I don't know if it's just something because of back in the cave days where we needed a man to make sure that we ate. So it's like that sort of women coming and you're like, alert, alert. But as you get older, you realize that women are your best support. They're your strength. You need them. They're like oxygen. Yeah. And I wish that older women would, you know, tell that to the younger generations, and that mothers would tell that to their daughters and their sons, you know, because there's just no need for this. We have to support each other.
I agree. Yeah, I think the bond that women have with each other is very powerful because we understand each other, even in things that, like, you know, the other person can't really relate to, but you have the same strong emotions and like the same, just, I don't know, it's just all so connected. And even if you and I are so different, like we still have the same feelings that we have to process through, and the same, whatever. So it's, I do think it's getting better, but yes, I have noticed that women my age, it seems like they think their slot is going to be taken or filled. Yeah. And it's like, no, honey, that's yours forever. Everybody has a place here. It's just what you do with your time.
And by the way, if your slot's taken, then maybe your path was different. You can't blame it on another woman.
Yep.
You know, or man.
I know this is kind of a tough question for you to answer, but what do you think is the single most important thing, like career-wise, that you've done?
Hopefully affect people's lives with my music or with the people I've signed, because that's helped them get through tough times, or been a song that, you know, they've played at their weddings, or, you know, important milestones. I think that at the end of the day, that's what music really is about. It's about communicating the human emotion in a way that other people can relate to it.
What keeps you in the industry?
It's hard to leave it. it's all I know. So, I mean, why do I stay there? It's really to find the next, talented people that are going to affect others, affect change, and help other people out there communicate who can't write songs.
You're saying like a bunch of your peers are still writing, but to me, what you're doing is, I don't want to say more important, but it almost is, because you are taking the skills that you had and have and, were very successful with, and it has allowed you to be able to recognize talent. I feel like that is a huge thing that not everybody in the industry has. A lot of people say they know how to find talent, and then you realize that like you have to know music and have been in it in order to recognize it in other people. So I think that's really...
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, for me, I always want to find people early. I don't look at metrics. Metrics don't mean anything to me. It's a line in the song. For you, it was, he struck the match and walked away and you caught fire. I mean, that was just the most amazing line. And I just remember thinking, that's it. That's all you need to have, is that ability to write that line and to have that perspective. And for me, I was just sold on you. And I think a lot of what it is for creators out there, and maybe this is a message to songwriters who've been really successful, and that you can help other writers. And it could be ego that keeps them maybe from getting out of just songwriting or producing, and really looking to young creators to help. But I think a lot of them are out there doing that too. I do see more and more songwriters and producers starting publishing companies and mentoring. And I think that that's really important. I think you have to give back.
Weren't you the first female publishing company self-starting?
Maybe.
I think you were.
Was I really?
Yeah, you're kind of a badass.
Damn, I'm good. I only did it because I was so sick of not getting my due for like producing vocals and writing the whole song and getting like, less than 50% because there were other people in the room, or, I felt like if I was going to give up parts of songs, why didn't I give them to people that I believed in and that I could help get entrenched in the industry and then help kind of represent those people. So yeah, I mean, I think scrappiness and trying to, and maybe that's what I love about you. You're scrappy. Like you want to break boundaries. You want to break down walls. And I think that that's important, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Hopefully the people listening to this will do it.
Exactly. Hopefully.
And we can retire. No, don't retire yet. Ingrid, it's always awesome to see you. I hope I see you soon in Nashville for real, and I give you a big hug. Thank you so much for doing this. Everyone, this is BMI's She is the Conversation. Spread the word.